episode 716, joined by one of our co-hosts from Global Kid Media. He has his own show too called Vedant Gupta. And then we're joined by special guest Michael J. Birts Jr. He's an NBA agent, well known in the league, and he's from Green. I see your shirt there. It's what's it called? Green Sports Management. Yeah, part of that team. So I'm really looking forward to this interview, and I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and truly an honor. And obviously we love watching the NBA, and we're gonna get into all of it. So first of all, how are you and your family doing so far in this tough situation?
Thank you. Thank you again for having me on the show. It's an excellent opportunity. I really appreciate that. A big fan of all of you all. But my family and I, we're good. Thankfully, COVID hasn't impacted us at all. It's been a blessing. How about your family?
Yeah, we're doing good. Just trying to stay safe and staying consistent with the workouts, and obviously busy with the show and building this platform. And like I said, we have a great team around us with 7 more people that's helping with the show. So we're really looking forward to the future. But before we get to the questions, I'm gonna let Vedant introduce himself more with his show, and then we get into it.
Yeah, so what's going on? I'm Vedant. I'm the 14-year-old president of Global Kid Media. I've done 1,500 celebrity interviews in the past 3 years with the top stars from NFL, NBA, college. Working to be that first kid on national TV as a sports reporter, host, or producer to inspire millions of other kids. They can start young too.
Yep. So, all right, Vedant, you want to start off here first with the question?
Well, first of all, we've got a big NCAA tournament coming up first weekend. Almost here. First 4 starts tomorrow. Do you have some predictions and any sleeper teams?
It's going to be a big one. I mean, obviously, this playing field is completely different from normal years. I mean, we don't have Duke, we don't have Kentucky in the runnings, but I would actually love to see the Zags win it all. I'm a big fan. Being a mid-major guy myself, when I played, I'm always rooting for the mid-majors. So yeah. I would love to see them take it home.
Yeah, funny story actually. My co-host right now, my current co-host, she covers Gonzaga. So I picked Gonzaga in my bracket. So Zags, they're unstoppable right now. So I'm going Zags all the way. I'm going with my co-host.
Okay.
Me personally, man, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Ohio State actually. Ooh. Little 2 seed there. I think they could win their bracket. It comes down to them and probably Baylor, but I'm going Ohio State.
Yeah. Nah, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. They're definitely one to watch. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. I can't even really. Normally, I'll make a bracket, but I'm just staying away from it completely.
Anything can happen, man. Anything.
So before we get to like all the basketball stuff, I want to get into your career and your journey and how you started. But first, for you growing up, and when did you start realizing that you wanted to be in the sports industry, sports field, and what was the process like for you? Obviously, being an agent is tough sometimes, but what was the process like for you trying to get into this agency business?
Well, I guess it's best to start from the beginning. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, actually a small town south of Miami called Florida City. It's actually, to give you all a landmark, it's the last pretty much city in Dade County before you get to the Keys. So born in there originally, and sports was all I know. Our area is predominantly football players, but I'm a unicorn, and I decided to take a different path. I've always been tall for my age. I'm 6'5", 6'6", and I was like, you know what? Why not play basketball? My father played. He every time he would go to the park or whatever, he would take me with him, and I just fell in love with the game. So the game has just been so impactful for me, on a personal and professional level. I used it as a tool to eventually earn a Division I scholarship to Southern Illinois Edwardsville, where I played there for 2 years before I finished my last 2 years at Lane University in Boca Raton. After that, didn't really feel comfortable pursuing pro. I was kind of content. I was like, all right, did what I had to do my 4 years. I could, put the ball down and, transition into something else.
Right.
And after talking to my fiance after a while, I was like, I really don't know what my next move could be. I know I want to be involved with sports, but there's so many different avenues, to working in the sports business. And she was like, why not try law school? I mean, your background is political science. That was my major. And, I did exceptionally well in classes that involved public speaking and writing and things of that nature. Sorry. And I ended up going to law school for 3 years at Florida A&M, located in Orlando, Florida. And I hit another turning point in my life. I'm like, man, okay, I'm here in law school, still want to be in sports. Now you only have 2 lanes. It's either be a sports agent or, become an attorney.
Right.
A lot of my peers in school, they were going to law school and becoming lawyers. That's the traditional thing. But again, I deviated from that path and, decided, all right, I can become a sports agent and be impactful to so many young men and young women from my community by, going down this path. So that's why I became a sports agent.
I always like to ask, when you were younger, say 5, 6 years old, what was kind of that ideal profession for you? What did you envision yourself doing back then? And at what point did that really start to change?
I mean, like I mentioned, the basketball was everything, still is everything for me. But at that point in time, I wanted to be a professional athlete. I ate, slept the game. That was just something I really, really, really wanted to do. So I shot for the NBA. Obviously, I'm not on the court, but being around the game still is just equally rewarding for me.
Right. So for you, what did you learn as a player in college? And obviously you tried for the pros, but it didn't work out for you. But what was the learning process like as a player in college, and how did that translate for you going into the agency business and relating your playing time to the players that you represent now?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, just that balance. Sports taught me balance, man. I mean, it's in the job description. You're a professional athlete. You have to carry and conduct yourself, as a professional. And with that comes balance. That's one thing sports taught me, and it's been a relatable factor with, the current clients that I represent. The second thing I would have to say is, always on a quest to improve and better yourself. Whether you're getting shots up, watching film, weight training, eating the proper thing, having that discipline to always continue to improve is something I carry over to my discipline, but more so, that was the biggest lesson I learned from basketball when I played. So those 2 things I would say.
I always also like to talk about failures in life are a big thing that teach you so much. For you, what was one, maybe even story you could tell of an instance where there was a failure when you first got into the industry that helped you so much, and now seeing the success, where does that pay off?
Okay. Well, I don't really have an industry failure yet that's given me such a huge, life lesson, but I'll backtrack it, just a little bit to my life. I transferred, like I mentioned, to a smaller university from the bigger program that I was at when I played. And one thing that lesson taught me is, regardless of circumstances that you feel like aren't going your way, but you have to take and control what you can control and, make the best of anything. So just to pivot a little bit into a short form of the story, I, was pretty good in high school. I got to college and, I was met with a challenge of other men from other parts of the country that were just as good, if not better. And instead of taking my same approach or doubling down what I did to get where I was, I kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of lost sight of that and lost that hunger and that grind and that same passion that I had prior to me entering college. And it paid it paid a price because I wasn't playing as much. You know, I was falling out of love with the game. And from there, I was just like, man, like this isn't fun anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. You know, I'm 18 hours away from home. And, you know, I blamed everyone except myself. And that's one thing I do not do anymore. And, you know, being 19, 18 years old, it's kind of hard to point the blame at yourself when you're so busy, you know, pointing to so many other factors. So just control what you can control, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you always have to look in the mirror.
Yeah. So obviously in the sports industry, it's all about making connections and networking. And I've learned a lot from this show by networking and meeting these people. But for you, what's it like obviously being an agent, being connected with all these players and also other agents? We had some other agents on the show too, and we had Daniel Green on the show. If you know him. And what's it like?
Great guy.
Yeah, what's it like working with him? And obviously, and how did the Green Sports management come about for you?
Oh man, I'm standing on the shoulder of a giant. You know, I'm so grateful for him. You know, mentorship has been so critical in my trajectory, man, and I'm grateful because I didn't have a sports agency internship while I was in school, so to speak. But I did have, you know, prior experience working on the team side for the Orlando Magic while I was in school for law school in Orlando. So for him opening the door up for me, it's just been incredible for my career. Um, I'm forever in debt to him, and I really appreciate that. And you know, I'm grateful that he saw that same fire and passion in my eyes as his. And just to give you all just a story of how I got a part of the company, um, I didn't meet Mr. Green until 2 weeks to a week before I graduated law school. You know, I sent my resume and DM'd everyone pretty much in the sports agency world, just looking for an opportunity post graduation. And he messaged me back and was like, you know, I don't have any openings now, but you know, you're more than welcome to shadow me at the NBA draft combine, you know, in Chicago during that time. And I was hit with a pretty big dilemma, being a financial one at that, because it's like, all right, this is last minute. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, all of my money was tied up, you know, towards party activities to celebrate graduating law school. It's a huge achievement, you know, but I was able to cough up a little amount of money and book the flight and the room to get there. And that, had I not taken that meeting or that, you know, that shadowing opportunity that he gave me, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm grateful for that because he opened the door for me to get into business by doing that.
Like Nathan mentioned, it's obviously a small world in an industry and in any industry, and the connections are so important. I tell the story of how I covered Duke basketball was through meeting someone at the University of Michigan, and after that, looking into a room where there were two kids watching sports, and just knocking on that door and talking to them. It turned out one of them was best friends with the Duke manager, who eventually led to getting credentials and talking to Zion and RJ and Trey Jones and Cam Reddish in that Fab freshman group. Can you tell some stories of just amazing connections and how things work, and especially in the field you're in?
Okay, amazing connections. Let's see. In terms of, you know, meeting players or meeting someone of crazy importance, just to clarify.
So, like, you know how you could meet a janitor and they could lead you to the biggest opportunity in the world. Is there anyone you've met that was just a low-key conversation that turned into an opportunity?
Yes, actually, it has been plenty of circumstances like that, because I treat everyone with respect, regardless of title, because you never know who's going to lead you to that next door. A lot of people always think it's the CEO of the company, or, you know, the manager, but sometimes it's the assistants or whoever works in that specific sphere. But I would have to say the craziest opportunity I had would have been my time working at Viacom. While I was there, Viacom is a entertainment and media company, And while I was there, my fraternity brother, because I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, my fraternity brother actually had an event at the NBA Players Union's office in New York City. And I had no idea about it, but my supervisor did at the time. And I was like, all right, you know, I haven't met him. Yeah, we're frat brothers, but you know, there's still that whole mystique of I don't know who this person is, but they have an exceptional title. So she was like, I'm not gonna go, but you can go. I was like, perfect, definitely. So I went in the room, I get to the room, and you know, he was so warming and welcoming. And you know, he was like, all right, you know, meet this person, go shake hands with that person because it's gonna pay dividends in the long on the back end. And every hand that I shook is exactly what he said. It's been crazy. You know, now whenever I go to an NBA event, I see so many people, and you know, it was all because of him, and I'm grateful for that. You know, the NBA is really a brotherhood, no matter if you're a player or someone who's working in the business.
Interesting. So obviously, we're all living in a tough world right now since last year with the COVID. So for you, how tough is it for you guys being an agent and obviously reaching out to these players? And let me sidetrack a little bit for your current clients that you work with right now. Do you guys stay? Obviously, they're in the mid of the season, but like when you guys struggled through COVID last year, what was your guys? Did you guys have constant conversation with your clients last year during COVID when the sport shut down?
Yes, we did. We have an internal motto: control what you can control. It's actually my personal mantra as well, like I mentioned before. Control what you can control. The pandemic was something that no one, at least in my mind, expected. Obviously, there were signs, you know, but to the degree that it was going to shut down the entire basketball world and the world itself, no one saw it, you know, going that far. So what we did was we had a small group of rookies that came from the class of 2020, you know, who were so passionate about embarking on their professional journey. And we had them fly out to Miami. We gave them, you know, a private area, home and place to work out, you know, so obviously COVID protocols would be followed.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any idea when the league would start back, when the NBA combine would start, or how teams were going to go about private workouts. But what we did was gave them a regiment. So when that time came, they would be ready and be in position, regardless of the outcome of the NBA while they were handling their scheduling conflicts and whatnot. And to see that process pay off, although, you know, not all of them got to be a part of the NBA ranks, only one of them did. It was amazing to see, okay, we gave them a shot, regardless of the world being on fire, so to speak.
With this whole COVID situation, of course, there was, and there still is, a lot of talk about social justice, as there should be, and athletes being able to use their voice and talk about those things. As an agent, it's got to be refreshing to be able to work with your clients and see that they have a chance to express their voices. What do those conversations look like between you and your clients? And maybe even, you know, me and Nathan have both had Demora Smith on the show, who's the director of the NFLPA. And he talks about what they have to do there and talking with different owners and things like that. Talk about the conversations you see on the NBA side of things.
Man, it's been amazing to just see the league use their platform in such an amazing way is just amazing for me. And then to know that the union empowers agents to do the same on our part is pretty spectacular. But for me, what I try to do is, above all, above color, creed, nationality, you're a man above anything. Understand that, and then, you know, you can worry about everything else. But I'm all for you speaking on certain issues because you're a role model. You know, by default, once you put on that NBA uniform or that professional uniform, you are a role model. And I encourage all of my guys to use the leverage of the league, stand on the shoulders of the league to amplify your voice. You know, you're not here alone. They welcome you with open arms to speak, and I do the same. You know, so there's certain conversations like teaching young men or young kids, period, or other adults rather, that you know there's deeper conversations to have outside of you just judging me based on the character of the color of my skin over the content of my character.
Mhm.
And then as well, that a conversation that needs to be had that I enjoy having with my clients is you're more than an athlete. I think players are so, well, players and people rather are so focused on them only being machines regarding their craft, which is fine because you have to keep the main thing. But outside of their jersey number, they're human beings and they have feelings and emotions and, you know, issues that they deal with.
Hmm. Yeah, so obviously, you guys as agents, you guys are not allowed to talk about your clients, but I'm going to ask you about the recruiting process. So for you, obviously, are you constantly on your phone 24/7 trying to bring in players to your agency group? And what's a process like this when it comes to recruiting these players?
Well, the positive is it helps with my strategy. I honestly like keeping a small book of business.
Yeah.
I enjoy, you know, quality over quantity. You know, some agents like, you know, having long rosters because of, you know, overhead and, you know, things and expenses they have to cover. But, you know, if I think relationships are so powerful beyond money that you shouldn't have to worry about having a long client list. But the nature of the business, I understand you have to. But for me, COVID helped because the world was on pause. Now you got to really see the cream rise to the top. You know, not every athlete came out because of the NCAA allowing them to return, but you really got to see the cream rise to the top. And, you know, it kind of made it even more competitive as a byproduct of that because everyone's gunning for that top athlete, you know, on a more deeper scale now than years past or years prior, you know. So I've definitely.
Uh-oh. Did you lose him? Oh, there you go.
There we go. I'm here now. COVID has allowed, you know, deeper conversations to be had with agents and, you know, players' families in comparison to before, since they're so tied down to, you know, March Madness, postseason, and
Yeah.
season on a full calendar year. You know, they don't have time to really engage and interview and pick the brain of that agent that's seeking them out.
Hmm. Interesting.
I'm gonna go back to the NFL for a second. Have you seen the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had the real life Jerry Maguire, Lee Steinberg on the show, and you talk about the relationships you build with your players. Can you tell us stories of what it's like, maybe outside of the business when you're not in the suit and the tie, and the fun you guys are able to have?
Whew. Oh man, yes, I definitely. That's my favorite part. I mean, the difficulty of the business is, you know, everyone knows, you know, dealing with the contracts, you know, the workouts, prepping them for the combines, etc. But that's my favorite part. I mean, my guys, we have our own group chats, you know, some collectively, some individually, and you know, we talk, crack jokes, make TikTok videos. You know, I'm a millennial, so I'm not too far removed. Like Steinberg is, no disrespect to him, he's one of the goats of the industry, but you know, little things like that are so incredible. And then, you know, just seeing their face when, like, I'll give a prime example. My client, Daquan, you know, Bracy, he's a point guard from Louisiana Tech.
Mhm.
By far the funniest human being I ever met. Like he's a character. Like I enjoy, you know, but that's his way of letting loose from the game and him working out and whatnot. And the other day, he sent me a TikTok video that was hilarious, of something that he made, and you know I sent him a rebuttal back, a reply back of me doing the same dance that he was doing, and he got a crack out of it because he's like, you know, Mike, you're 6'6". I didn't know you could do that move, you know, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, real quick, I don't know if you guys know this about the weather in Alabama with the tornado situation. So I want to send whoever is in Alabama, just stay safe out there. Get some shelter. I think they're saying it's gonna be a really bad tornado there in Alabama. So I just
Oh
want to
wow,
bring that up
they
real
say.
quick. Yeah.
Prayers up to them. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I just want to bring that up. I did that. This came through across my phone real quick, so I just want to bring that up. So,
Wow.
yeah. So stay safe, everyone in Alabama. That's crazy. There's obviously tornadoes are crazy, but I want to ask you. Obviously, with the NBA, NFL free agency going on right now, that it's like madness right now in NFL with free agency. So for you guys, how tough is it sometimes for agents, for NBA? This is the best. I love NBA free agency and NFL free agency, best time of the year. So for you guys, but how tough is it when it comes to free agency signings and all for you guys?
Oh yes, I mean it's not cookie cutter. Depending on where the athlete is in his career, it could, you know, there could be different effects. So right now we haven't. The only taste of free agency we had was, all of our guys were considered undrafted free agents because they didn't go in the draft. But we were able to be able to maneuver through that by staying in contact and constant communication with all 30 NBA teams, including their G League affiliates. That's just a process of just working the phones, honestly. I tell guys, all it takes is one team to fall in love with you. Everyone wants to be loved by everyone in the league, but at the end of the day, you can only be assigned and signed to one team. You can't play for multiple teams unless you're traded. But that process is definitely something, like I said, that isn't cookie cutter, because it all depends on the athlete and stage of his career. If he's a rookie, he could be entering restricted free agency. If he's a vet and he's been in the league 4+ years, that entire process is different for him.
One thing Jamar Smith talked a lot about is players aren't entitled to a team. They're not, they say family, but you're not on your birth certificate doesn't say that team's name. How do you explain that to especially younger guys when they get traded, that it's part of the whole process and that it is a business? It's not supposed to be for the feelings and all those things.
Oof. That is by far still to this day one of the most difficult conversations that I have. But I think it's important as an agent and being in that player's corner to have that decision. So I try to tell them right off the bat, and I apologize if this may sound a little harsh to some people, but I tell them there's no love in this thing. There isn't at all. There's no love in this industry, and it's black and white. It's black and white, and it's numbers. Some organizations have a mentality. Well, I don't want to say some. Most organizations have a mentality of, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
I think look at players like Victor Oladipo, Harrison Barnes, great people off the court, great basketball players on the court, and how they were done by their respective organizations at the time was incredible. I mean, Harrison was traded in the middle of a game while he was on the bench. He found out. So, just warning them of those red flags, it's easier to accept that fact once it arrives. Obviously, I do that as a precautionary tale because, you're gonna feel it either way. I had one client, he wasn't exactly picked by the team, but so to speak, but he had an interview. I don't want to disclose the franchise's name, and he was like, man, they love me. Like, he met with, everyone on the staff, everyone was there on the call. This was during the pandemic. He was like, man, like I know they want me. They want me. The draft came, no call. They were kind of like, we're backing up. We want to go somewhere else. And he took that pretty hard, but I knew, by me explaining to him how harsh the business can be, it made that recovery process for him a little faster in comparison to someone else had they not known that, it would have been like, oh man, like I don't want to play basketball anymore, you know?
So I want to ask you about this season so far. What do you like about this season? What the NBA has done with the commissioner Adam Silver? He's doing a great job, and the rest of the front office. And they just had the All-Star break, obviously different circumstance in All-Star break. And what are your thoughts on this overall season? And obviously with the clients you work with, what do they think about this season?
Everyone's been enjoying it so far. I mean, the only thing I felt bad for were the guys that made it so far in the bubble. They didn't have such a normal off-season period. It was like, all right, we won, celebrated the championship, we're back to work. But I've been enjoying it. One thing I'm really hype on seeing so far is this rookie class. I did not expect this incoming rookie class to have so many stars. So I've been enjoying, LaMelo, Anthony Edwards. He's killing. James Wiseman. I'm enjoying all of those guys, and then
Manuel quickly.
Yeah,
quickly.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they've been rocking out, and then my guy LeBron. He's looking good. I'm just worried about injuries on their standpoint, and then the moves that the Nets made. I did not see that coming.
Yeah,
I did not. But it's holding up to be a good one again. I'm looking forward to the finals this year.
Yeah,
playoffs. Period.
I mean, man, we talk about it being a business. You've got 5 All-Stars in the starting lineup nearly for the Nets versus a Lakers team. And I remember right as Blake Griffin got traded, which I believe is the latest addition. That day, I was talking to Coach Phil Handy, who's obviously the Lakers assistant coach, does a lot of great work. And he basically said the mindset is we don't care what they got going on over there. This is what we have in this team. These are the players we've got. I want to know what your predictions are if it's not those two teams, because, I feel like there's a Jazz team that's very, very underrated for having the record they have, and, some teams around the league that are going to be big time slept on.
Oof, who's next up if the Lakers and the Nets aren't there? I mean, on the East, let's start with the East. I like Philly, but with Embiid being hurt, I'm like, all right, I like them. And then on the West, I like the Nuggets, man. I like them.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of them. I want to see how they continue to get better. I think by them going in the bubble and having a little taste of the postseason, it's going to help them even more.
Yeah.
Because, there's experiences is the best teacher. I mean, to shift gears to another sport. Look at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
How many times he's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He has, all the keys to the test, which is the game, So I think that from their experience with the bubble, they'll make some noise. How about you guys?
Man. You go
first.
Ahead. You go first.
All right. For me, I agree with you on the East. I like the Philadelphia 76ers a lot. Yes, of course, Embiid is probably has a little bit to do with their success. So if he's healthy, that's when they're going to win games. So that's going to be questionable for me. I've always thought the Heat are going to be competitive in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be necessarily that team again like they were last year, but I think they'll be good. And in the future, with the pieces they've got, they'll continuously be there. Mm-hmm. For me, of course, we're not talking about the Nets. I like the Celtics a lot this year. They've got a long way to go still, but again, their future. Jaylen Brown is probably one of my favorite players in the league, as well as Marcus Smart, which is not because of necessarily statistics or anything, but because of his drive for the game. You see what he does on defense, and just a leader. So the Celtics. As far as the West goes, man, I'm sticking with the Jazz. If it's not the Lakers, I like the Jazz a lot. Of course, you got to like the Clippers. I don't know what the update is with Andre Drummond, but yeah, I think he might have a lot to do with whatever team he ends up on. So I've heard that could potentially be the Clippers. We'll see what happens there. I remember talking to him when he was with the Pistons. So I'm excited to see what's next for him.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, obviously the Heat made a trade today, or actually with Trevor. They got Ariza for Myers Leonard. I don't think that's official yet, but once it's official, that's a big pickup for the Heat. That they need a wing player like Ariza. And Ariza, man, I feel bad for him. He gets traded every trade deadline, it seems like. Uh, yeah, but he's gonna bring that veteran presence in Miami. So in the East, I like Boston, Philly, and Miami. I think Miami is gonna bounce back here. If like we're talking, if the Nets and Lakers don't make it, so I'm gonna say the Heat, Boston, and Philly for the East and the West. I like Denver. I like the Jazz, but I really do like. Um, I like the Clippers this year for some reason. Last year, obviously they choked, but
Yeah.
I like this Clippers team really good because they got Serge Ibaka. I feel like Kawhi, Paul George, they're playing better this year, and Tyronn Lue, he has a great, obviously a heck of a coach, and I like their depth this year. So I like the Clippers in the West, but it's gonna be interesting to see where Drummond goes. If Drummond goes to the Nets, I'm hearing the Nets are in that sweepstakes still for Drummond. So so if the Nets do get Drummond, everybody wants to go to Brooklyn for this seems like. But if he goes to the Nets, the Nets are winning the championship. It's over.
Yeah, it's looking like 2010 Miami Heat is
Yeah.
showing up there. Yeah. Woo.
Man, you know what? I think in the East too, we all forgot to mention the Bucks. That's a
Oh, the
team that
Bucks.
you cannot
Yeah.
count out at all in the East, with Giannis, and that's again somebody I've talked to. I love his passion, his energy for the game. I'm excited to see where they go. I always say the Raptors can make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just something about the Raptors that you can never count them out either. But those are just two teams we got to mention and throw in there.
Yeah.
The underdogs. Gotta love the underdogs.
Absolutely.
So I gotta ask you this though: what's it like seeing players, actually current players? Obviously, LeBron made some recent news yesterday, but what's it like seeing these current players trying to be part owners of different teams in different sports? Like LeBron is now the part owner of the Boston Red Sox. Whoever thought that? But what do you like about these players getting into ownership while still playing?
I love it. It's like I mentioned previously, they're becoming more than their jersey numbers. You can use sports as a platform to leverage so many opportunities, and for guys, obviously the cream of the crop, the premier names of the league, are gonna have more opportunities, so to speak, because they're bigger names. But the trickle down effect that it's gonna have from them, it's about to really explode. And I'm looking for that to even transition into women's sports as well. All athletes riding on the coattails of the LeBrons and the other premier athletes making large business moves like this. I love it. I smiled when I saw it, especially, that's my favorite player. And to see how he's making so many power moves during his career is crazy, because usually that players don't have that growth until post career, So I'm eager to see what he continues to build. Obviously, he's building an empire. I never would have thought LeBron would have been in baseball before football.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
You know what, man? You talk about these players expanding. I mean, first of all, LeBron with Spring Hill Entertainment, what he's doing there, what he's doing with his school, all those things are amazing. Patrick Mahomes, what he's doing with the Royals, he's an owner there too. And I remember talking to him before all that happened. It was like you could see that was going to happen. Let's talk about the evolution of the game for a second. I remember, and looking back at it, maybe one of my most important 2-minute conversations ever was with the former commissioner, David Stern. And, the late great, I remember now talking about it and just seeing how much things have changed from when he was in charge. What do you think it's next? What's the next big step in the NBA?
Well, we're seeing two right now, honestly. Esports, I think, that's going to be a huge step for the league in terms of growth, and also, that audience, that bringing them in, that target audience. And then lastly, crypto, this NBA Top Shot is, man, I'm so disappointed that I didn't buy in early, and I was already we got I got a little insider tip, perks of the NBA fraternity, got a little insider, and signed up for it early, when it first came out. And I'm like, oh man, it wasn't a lack of knowledge, so to speak. It was just fear. It's like, oh, I don't want to purchase this or, buy into this. And now it's exploded. You have LeBron selling for 280 grand when the initial investment was like 120. So, I think those two lanes, but I think the league is gonna open up, I feel like, to opportunities of letting high schoolers come back in, before the rule change. I think look at it's becoming so competitive with, the overtime league, and that's about to come out now. And then also the G League Ignite that recently came out. I think they're gonna entertain that more because athletes now are so eager to become businessmen over being used by the NCAA, so to speak.
So I want to get to an important topic here real quick, women in sports. So for you, what's it like seeing the growth for women getting their chances in sports and covering sports and coaching male sports and even participating in male sports? So what's it like seeing women in sports growing now?
Oh man, it's about darn time. I would use a different word, but just for the sake of your audience, I won't use it. But it's about darn time. I'm so happy to see the growth that women's leagues are having. I'm birthed from a powerful woman. I mean, my mom has been so instrumental in my life, and to know that there are women like her, in terms of spirit, who play sports that are given opportunities now. I'm all for it. I want to see a more unified front from other men's leagues. The NBA has done, a fantastic job at it. And then even looking at Kobe before he passed, how he was so instrumental in that aspect of promoting the WNBA. So I think those things are going to be phenomenal to see moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with Dr. Jen Welter, who is obviously one of the pioneers for women in football. We keep going back to football here, but that conversation was so important because that's something that's real. That's something that needs to happen. What is, that we talk about the trends coming up, and I always say, I think kids should have a chance to do a bunch of different things in a bunch of different industries. You look at some of the biggest issues in the world, and it comes down to the things you learned before preschool. That's perspective. Like how many of these things could we just, if everyone could agree to understand there's different opinions, how many of these things could be solved? That's my only question. And what do you think of that idea of kids being involved in different industries a little bit more?
I think collaboration is so unique when you're giving, opportunities to take, someone who may have a small voice, so to speak, and allow them to have a seat at the table. It's so instrumental. I think children, if they're involved, it would speed up in all types of processes in the sports world, because one, they'll already have that exposure to the business side of the game and the game itself so early. That is something that I would love. I don't know, so to speak, how the league would do it. I mean, maybe have an introductory course to the collective bargaining agreement, while players are playing AAU at 10, 9 years old, or allowing them to, tour the war room on draft night, or have an internships, or well, not internships, but volunteering with the basketball operations staff of an NBA franchise. So exposing them early, I think, will, one, lead to increased participation. Sorry, tongue twister. Participation, but also, it'll lead more passion for the game, because you're going to know every aspect of your sport.
So we do this fun a couple of segments on these shows, fun little segments with our team. But I'm gonna Vidal, you want to do your segment first before?
Yeah, so I love to do this segment called Flip the Switch. I have the first
Woo!
to
Okay.
ask you a few questions. So we got to test your media skills, man. We got to put you to the test. You get to ask a few questions now.
Okay. Flip the switch. That was the Drake bar. You got that from
Flip
Drake?
the switch.
You know,
Okay.
this has been there for a while, so I don't know if I got it from him or if it was there first. I gotta check.
Okay. We'll say you coined it first. You coined it first, my
Maybe
man.
he got it for me. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
that's what I'm
I
saying.
need my credit, man.
Oh man, excellent. But no, yeah, I'll love to take the floor now. Let's see. What questions would I ask? Let's do a softball right now. Who is your favorite artist musically right now? Where are you listening to?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I love listening to rap. So my favorite artist right now, it's got to be J. Cole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me, it's probably Polo G or TJ, little TJ. Those are my top two right now.
All right. Cool. No, that's dope. That's dope. So, favorite song? What's your favorite track of all time? Like, what gets you hyped? Like, when you're working out, leaving the house, what's one track you have to play before you leave?
Oh, for me, it's Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares.
Okay.
You know what? Just for the sake of the conversation, I'll go nonstop.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But just to tie it back to our initial overall conversation, why did you guys feel the need to establish your respective podcasts? Like, what value do you feel like your podcast bring?
You want to go first?
What was your reason?
You go first.
Yeah. So for me, actually, when the sport shut down, I started the show at the beginning of the pandemic last year. It was, I think, February, March when it shut down the sports, and so I told myself, and plus I wanted to keep my friends and other people entertained. They had nothing to watch, so I told myself, let me start this show and take advantage because all these athletes are home now, all these reporters are home doing nothing. So I took full advantage of it, reaching out to these people. And I did my own shows in the beginning, and eventually brought in a co-host. I'm on my second co-host now, but I brought in the first one before, and now I built a team here in the net. In the last 2 months, I built a great team, including Vedant here, and we have 6 people helping out with the team with the show now, and I'm just grateful to be in this position. And all my friends say, "How crazy are you to do 716 episodes in 1 month? I mean, in 1 year." Because I started this show last year, so we're already at 716, and obviously more to come. And now we consider this a show and a team, and for me, it represents I get to learn a lot from my coworkers, my team, and even Vedant, 14-year-old kid right here, man. This kid is amazing. But for me, it's all about casual conversations. I'm not like the guy who asks 20 questions like that. We're laid back, casual. That's why people love the show. We're getting a lot of attraction, and people love to come on. And all out of all the guests we had, we had some big time guests, including Isaiah Thomas, the bad boy Piston. He was on the show, and it's just grateful. And it's all about building connections and learning each personality, and that's what it comes down to for our show.
I'd say for me, so I started exactly 3 years ago at the 2018 NCAA tournament. I actually just put up a post today about one of the first questions I asked was on St. Patrick's Day to Coach Izzo, but I remember it was just kind of a curveball for me. Any kid who watches sports pretty much, they're trying to be the athlete, not the reporter, right? And that's still the way I am. I play sports. I play football, basketball. We've canceled half our games because of COVID. Otherwise, I'd be on the court right now. But, you know, I always wanted to be that athlete, and it never expected to be in media. One day this application came up to apply for Sports Illustrated for Kids. They said, go interview somebody locally. And for me, being here in Flint, Michigan, Detroit's like an hour away. And that's where one of the rounds of the tournament was. So I'm like, I'm trying to go out there, right? So I call as many people as I can, and 99% either didn't reply or said no. One person said yes. That's all it took. So I'm in there, right? And I was the only kid. My feet didn't touch the floor. Nobody could see me in the press room. Like I'm real little, and I just remember trying to ask questions and do my best to talk about positive things. And at the end of the day, I got declined by SI for Kids. And I looked at the big picture and sports media as a whole and realized what's missing, and that's kid representation. So let me be the first one and let me inspire millions of other kids. They can start young too. And 3 years later, 1,500 interviews, 200 shows, here we are.
Woo! We get into a milli for the both of you soon. I love it. We're gonna hit a million soon. I'm in the air.
Oh, hopefully you can help us out with some of your clients to come on the show too.
Love that. Love that. Just let me know. We can connect offline. That would be.
But I don't know how much time you have left, but real quick, we do a rapid fire segment now on this show. We're just gonna like give you throw some random stuff so you can just answer.
Okay.
For you, the first one here, Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
I'll take Kevin Hart.
I'm gonna flip the switch. Flip the switch. Who's your favorite artist and favorite track?
Woo! All right, favorite track. All right, my favorite track is "Can I Live" by Jay-Z.
Oh wow!
I have to play that every morning.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets me gets my blood flowing. Get more inspirational because you got the sax going. But favorite artist, man, I'm a huge Drake fan. That's why when I heard the bar flip the switch, I was like, all right, we can relate. But Drake is my favorite artist, man. I love him. Been a huge fan since 2009.
Toughest contract you dealt with as an agent?
Toughest contract. Ooh, it would be the most recent one to get my client to Europe. It was tough because each country has their own COVID protocols. And the day before he left, the country changed theirs. So you had to have a COVID PCR test a week prior before you left. They changed it to 72 hours. So getting him from the United States to where he needed to be was a huge challenge. It was terrible. I don't want to relive that.
Wow.
All right, let's see. Favorite food?
Favorite food, cuisine or just food?
Food.
All right, pizza.
All right, so now, so obviously James Harden and in Brooklyn now, and he has 10 triple doubles already with the Nets in 26 games. Did you ever think that the Nets team like this could develop quickly? And obviously they're on a roll right now. And I really thought they were going to take some time. But are you surprised that this thing has picked up quickly? Even though KD's out right now, hopefully he comes back soon. But are you surprised that this team is doing well right now?
Oh, definitely. It wasn't even from a basketball standpoint for me. It was like, how do you gel so many A-types on the floor at the same time? And then, not to discredit Steve Nash, but I was like, all right, man, it's his first year coaching. How is he going to handle that? Like, how is he going to put all of his premier athletes in the best position to dominate the game? And he's done a crazy job. Like, I'm so happy for Steve. He's actually one of my favorite point guards. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely been something to watch. Every time they play, I try to watch. I have to tune in because you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. 100%, man. I love this Nets team overall, regardless of, this is something that Michelle Tafoya told me, regardless of how repetitive it gets, how annoying it gets in the same team consistently winning. And at the same time, you got to appreciate the greatness of it. She asked me if you could go back to one time period, one era of greatness, what would it be? And I said, Michael Jordan. But we don't realize we're living in the LeBron era of greatness. We're living in the Tom Brady era of greatness. So when we say it's annoying to see them win every single year, 20 years from now, in Tom Brady's case, whenever he retires, 20 years after that, because Lord knows how long that's going to be. People are going to look back and say that Tom Brady era, I wish I could see that. Well, we're watching it right now, so we got to at least enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%.
So before we get to the last two things, I just want to bring this up. All of us in the team are part of the Hugh Jackson Foundation. We're trying to help. He's a former NFL coach, but he's trying to get back into coaching. But this foundation, we're trying to help prevent human trafficking, making sure these kids make the right choices, and making the community safer. And obviously, we're ambassadors for this foundation. I'm going to send you the page so you can check it out. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. They do a great job, and we're really grateful to be part of it. And also, speaking of preventing stuff, what's it like now? See, obviously with the social injustice, and today it's Stop Asian Hate. It's called. So what's it like seeing this? All of us actually coming together as a community, trying to prevent all this stuff from happening now.
I love it. I think, we all, as our individual ethnicities have our own battles. But I think that's what makes us unique, by being able to come and cross a bridge and share those different experiences. Obviously, what happened in Atlanta was something that was terrible. Like, there's no words to even describe what happened and what took place. And just to know that constantly we have to deal with these motives of hate because of who you are, not because of what you did, so to speak. It's just, something I don't have really a taste for, man. Like, it's incredible. But when you have these different movements, they cause different shifts. So I think now this Stop Asian Hate movement is definitely, gonna take center of attention for a lot of people. And I hope it does, because it shows that, hey, we have similar issues as well.
And the last thing here, actually, before the last thing, do you have any like Kobe memories throughout your years?
Kobe, that's he's on my GOAT, my Mount Rushmore. My fave Kobe memory would have to be the 81-point game. I mean, that 81 was crazy,
Yep.
I didn't expect it. I don't know if he did. He just woke up one day, was like, all right, I'm gonna go out here and get it. But that's my fave memory.
Yeah. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Thank you. You, even beyond this vaccine that's coming out, you're the primary reason we made it through, in my opinion. I'm so grateful for them. They were our frontliners, during this thing. They saved, so many lives, but at the same time, they put up a huge fight to those who may have lost in the end, to help them and assist them. So I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah, so there it is. That wraps up episode 716 for the NR Hour Sports Show with NBA agents Michael J. Birts Jr. from Green Sports Management. Go follow him on all social media formats. He's a great agent, and man, keep up the great work. And obviously, we're gonna stay connected, and hopefully, you get to meet our whole team soon, and hopefully, you can help us with some clients to come on the show. But this conversation has been awesome, inspiring, and thank you again for joining us, and you and your family stay safe.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you to you both. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.